Well, welcome back to Tim and Sid. I heard the gate for UFC 189. I don't know the exact pay-per-view numbers you had. You seem like a happy man that night. I take it business right now is good.
This is good, yeah. It was a great night. You know, July's the craziest month for us. We had something like, it was something like 6 fights in 4 weeks. Crazy, something like that.
Was that the best card in UFC history?
It was damn good. It was damn good.
You're just going to go damn good? You're not going to go any further than damn good?
Yeah, it was. I mean, just the Lawler-McDonald fight alone is one of the craziest fights I've ever seen in my life. It was so awesome. I mean, I have so much respect for both guys. Such a great fight.
There was a little bit of a lull in buzz around the UFC over the last couple of years. Do you feel like that was you guys capturing momentum back again?
Well, we had a year where injuries were brutal, and then we had a great year, and then the next year we had some injuries again. So yeah, this has been a good year for us.
Dana, in terms of that card just a few weeks ago, I mean, you were going to have the diehards buy it anyway, but you got the impression with Conor McGregor, there were a lot of quote-unquote newbies, for lack of a better term, who were taking in your product for the first time. What does it mean for you as a business where some people's first impression of the UFC is a legendary card like that?
Yeah, it could ruin it, you know. I mean, if that's your impression of the UFC and it's your first fight ever, that's what you're going to expect every time you tune in. And you know, the fights are always great. Guys always bring it, but that was an exceptional card.
How big can Conor McGregor be?
He's pretty. Think about this. The guy's only had 5 fights in the UFC, and he's global. I mean, the kid is a global phenomenon. You know, not just do we do great pay-per-view numbers here. First of all, the first time ever. I mean, Australia, the UK, just everywhere. He's big everywhere. It's amazing.
All right, so let's get to the next step with Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. Kevin Iole of Yahoo, who I respect beyond words, is implying you are taking a serious look at Cowboy Stadium in Dallas, with December 5th being booked at MGM, and Andrea Bocelli, I believe, has a concert that night. Can you update the situation as to when we'll see Aldo v. McGregor and where we'll see it?
It is true. We're looking at Dallas, Texas Stadium right now. Yes, Bocelli is playing at the MGM.
You staying in Vegas?
The Conor McGregor fight that we had here, you know, the fight we're talking about, had a $200 million impact on the city of Las Vegas. You know, and that's before gaming. Before people take $1 out of their pocket and put it down to gamble, we had a $200 million impact. I think Bocelli is going to have about a $2 impact on the city, but we're probably going to be going to Dallas, Texas Stadium.
You've teased us before with Texas Stadium and going there before. How come it hasn't worked before, and why do you think that you can do it this time around?
Well, I just think you have to go to that stadium with the right fight, and obviously the Aldo McGregor fight is even bigger than it was after, you know, a lot of people believed that McGregor couldn't beat a wrestler, and he did that, and the fight's even bigger now. And obviously we'll put together an amazing card, and I think we could do it in Dallas.
So, Dana, just so we're clear, when you say Cowboy Stadium, are you talking sectioning a bit of it off, or are you talking the whole shebang?
No, we're talking about doing the whole stadium.
Wow. Okay, with that said, because I know Jose Aldo and his availability in the last fight was an issue. And I know the post-fight UFC 189, you were very clear, you don't want to talk about the injury or what was or wasn't anymore. I respect that, Dana. I'm not going to frame it that way. Here's how I'll frame it. You cannot afford to have either guy pull any funny business if you book that venue. How comfortable are you with Jose Aldo and his camp for you to go all in, chips middle of the table, with him in that venue for that fight?
That's a great point. Obviously, if either one of them pulled out of that fight, it would be devastating to be at Dallas, Texas Stadium. But I believe that he will show up for this fight. You know, obviously, there's a lot of money at stake for him in this fight, too. He wants to show up. He wants to fight.
You mentioned, obviously, Rory McDonald, and we've talked to the guy a couple times. I got to be honest, after that last fight, and given the kind of the current climate around concussions, I found it weird the way you phrased that Rory McDonald didn't know what year it was in the locker room after the fight. Do you regret phrasing it the way you did in the aftermath?
No. Did you see that fight?
Yes.
That was wild.
Guy was in a war. I bet he didn't know what city he was in, let alone what year it was. You know, when you're in a war like that, I mean, listen, when you talk about concussions in football,
right.
People talk about concussions and the things that happen in football. For many years, people believe, well, these guys have pads on, they have helmets on. A lot of information was withheld from these guys on their health and safety. Mm-hmm. That's a fact.
Correct.
Show me where it ever said getting punched in the face is good for you.
Right. It just seems like a deviation from you, because for years you were trying to prove to commissions around the world about all of the technical and several levels of martial arts that these guys were performing, and it wasn't just two guys bashing the bleep out of each other. And then you go to that spot there. I thought it was real interesting to come from your mouth.
Well, the fights that you see, especially on Saturday night, are technical. These guys are the best in the world at what they do. They're the absolute elite in the business. And, you know, there's never been a death. In the 20-year history of the UFC, there's never been a death or serious injury. Cheerleading can't say that.
Right. Do you monitor athletes once they leave your premises to make sure that they're standing up to their end of the bargain on the non-practicing and keep them out of the ring so that they can recover from things like this?
Yeah, I mean, our guys are very smart guys. You know, these guys are intelligent. Most of these guys graduated from college. Yeah, they want to take care of themselves. And you know, we're in the forefront of testing these guys. You know, we send them to the Cleveland Clinic and testing their brains for brain injuries and things like that. Medically, nobody does what we do with our athletes medically.
All right, Dana, let's move on here to Ronda Rousey. And I was at more than a few events that you put on when GSP was at his prime. His popularity was the highest. I can't now. I didn't go to Asia and some of these places where he went and people lost their minds for GSP. But I can't remember a fighter on your roster right now enjoying the crossover success, for lack of a better term, Ronda Rousey is enjoying. What do you attribute that to, and how sustainable is that in your opinion?
Yeah, there never has been. There's never been a fighter in the UFC that's been as popular as Ronda Rousey or as big a star as she is. You know, movies. She gets on shows that we can't get the guys on. She just won 2 ESPYs, and the list goes on and on. First of all, she's incredible. She's an amazing athlete. She deserved both those ESPYs. She is the fighter of the year, and she is the best female athlete. I agree. She's the greatest athlete that I've ever worked with.
Wow. You know, it's interesting. You went from a guy saying you'll never see women in the UFC ever to this situation. Did you ever foresee it going this way?
No, because what I didn't expect is I didn't expect the women to get to the level that they're at that now. So technical. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen Joanna Jędrzejczyk, but she's awesome too. She's the 115-pound champion in the UFC. If you haven't seen her, check her out.
Do you really think that Rousey would ragdoll Mayweather?
I know she would. That's a fact. It's funny that you just asked me this. It's literally the thing that I talk about the most.
Yeah.
And I was just with some professional fighters somewhere. I don't remember where we were, but we were talking about it, and we were all agreed that Ronda would ragdoll Mayweather.
In like
See,
grappling?
the thing is, no, in a fight. If they met in the street right now, somewhere, anywhere, she would hurt him badly.
But so he fought at 146 and she fights at 135?
Right. Have you guys ever seen Floyd Mayweather?
He's a small guy.
He's this big. Okay.
But he's fast, though.
Yeah, but like, I'm scared of him, and I'm 2.
He's
like,
really
I'm 2
fast.
bills. I'm scared of him.
He's fast. So he's going to go in. He uses his hands. Once Ronda puts her hands on him, he's done. Done.
Really? And
Yeah.
you were in both games. So you're not talking out of your ass here. You've been in both games.
And I used to be on that side of the game where I used to think in boxing, I used to go, God, if one of these boxers ever hit these, no, it's not true. When these guys grab onto you, you're done. The leg kicks alone would stop Mayweather.
Dana, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this. Do you like Floyd?
I do.
How long you know him?
Yeah, I respect Floyd. I respect Floyd. He's, you know, guy's been on top of the game for 20 years. He's done things that people have never done. the pay-per-view that he did, the way that he promotes himself. And the thing that I really respect about Floyd is what a hard worker he is. You know, my guys all want to make the Floyd Mayweather money, but you got to put in the work. Floyd does the PR, and he knows how to promote himself. He's the best at it.
I was just going to say, is Floyd's brilliance, like, I mean, he's trafficked in our hate for him and made more than anyone else in the history of the fighting game, no matter what. Is that his real brilliance?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And people don't realize, you know, when you see these 24/7s, the only 24/7s that are good are the ones that have Floyd in it. And Floyd is very good at captivating and making you want to watch. Whether you hate him and want to see him get beat or whether you want to watch him win, you want to watch Floyd Mayweather. He's great at it. He's the best.
If you're advising Floyd, do you say to him, you need to go 50-0, or do you walk away now?
You know, Floyd's good at teasing everybody and saying, no, I don't want it. I'm just going to walk away and I'm going to do this and that. And then he comes back again. Floyd wants to go undefeated. And how would you get so close and not want to break the record?
It's funny, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about the first time I ever had a conversation with you. And I asked you if you ever envisioned a time where the UFC gets too big for Dana White. And here we are, probably about 5 or 6 years after that conversation. Do you see that spot? Because you asked me at the time to ask you in a couple of years. So here we are.
Yeah, it continues to, as we continue to grow and get bigger, you know, and become more corporate, it gets a little tougher.
What do you mean by that? Hold on. More corporate, it becomes tougher. You can't be you?
Yeah, no, I'm always going to be me. I don't care how big it gets.
Right.
You know, you know, it's definitely not the same culture that we had when we started this thing as it continues to grow. I mean, we have employees, probably 350 employees now, you know, many in Vegas, but stationed all over the world. And as the thing starts to get bigger, the dynamic changes. It definitely changes. And the people who have worked for me since day one know exactly what I'm talking about.
Dana, I mean, you make a lot of money. Your company's done very well, a lot better than a lot of people thought it would do. You've been on 60 Minutes. Your successes are obvious to see. What does Dana White believe Dana White has to improve in from a business standpoint?
We continue to improve the UFC. You know, the one thing that we set out to do when we bought this thing was to build a global sport. And that's what we continue to do. Every day when we get up in the morning, that's what we strive to become. We want to become a global sport.
Obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but looking back, do you think that you guys diluted the product by rolling the dice with cable TV?
No. There's no such thing as diluting the product. I mean, as we continue to grow, we just did a show last night, or when was it, Saturday night, in Scotland, and it was insane. Insane. It was sold out. We broke records, and, you know, we continue to do that all over the world. We're building a brand. We're building a sport. And there's still a lot of work to do.
It's funny because and I don't mean that as a diss, because, you know, having a niche and catering to that niche with your audience, as long as they're happy and your hardcores keep gobbling it up, and there's nothing wrong with that. People think you have to be mainstream, and the mainstream media really hasn't picked up on you guys as much as I thought they would, following GSP, following some of those huge numbers you were putting up a few years ago.
Yeah, no, they have. I mean, you know, ESPN covers us on a regular basis now, even though we're on Fox in the United States, and, you know, and all the other TV deals we have around the world. Guys, you can't build a sport and have 5 shows a year. You can't do it. We have to continue to put on more shows, and we have to continue to put on more shows around the world. There's places that are starving for the UFC to come back. There's actually, you know, not enough supply for the demand.
Right.
Dana, final question. We are in Canada. When's the last time you spoke to George St-Pierre?
I talked to George probably a month and a half ago, you know, through text. We text.
And your impression at that point is he's happy where he is, he's itching to do something different. How would you describe his mood via text?
Well, George, the thing is with George made a lot of money. He was very successful. He achieved everything that you could achieve in the sport. It's hard to come back. It's hard, especially in this game. Any sport, it's hard to come back. But in this sport, these young kids that are coming up now are 10 times better than George's era. I think that, retiring is probably a good thing for him. Not a bad idea.
Dana, we always enjoy the conversation. Thanks a lot for taking the time for us, and let's do it again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
There is the president of the UFC, a man with a fine haircut, might I add, Dana White, joining us live from Vegas.
You're thick as thieves, you two.
I think it's a good look.